second half, just seen a complete turnaround with what happened. Do you feel like the defense was playing with the intensity needed when you guys were up 3 touchdowns in the second half? And were there a lot of similarities to the last two home games you had last year? I know last year's a different year, but the TCU and Iowa State, similar things where you guys had leads and teams came rallying back.
Yeah, I think probably low-hanging fruit to say they didn't have the intensity. Obviously, it's on us as coaches to make sure that they have that intensity. Did actually bring up those two games at halftime, which now I wouldn't have. Unfortunately, you got to continue to learn the same lessons because we're not learning them. And obviously, credit goes to Kansas State for making those plays. And just a collection of individual plays that obviously are unacceptable, and they lose you football games, and we were guilty of that.
Jason Kersey.
Yeah, Alex, and I know you can come off as aggressive when I ask this, but since your introductory press conference, you've talked about takeaways almost 2 years now. Why is this team having so much trouble getting takeaways? We saw how valuable they can be today.
That's right. Despite that evidence, we seem to have it continues to be an extra credit kind of assignment for us, and I wish I had the answer. Obviously, if I did, it'd get done. At this point, that we've been together for over a year. There's no one else to blame but me for that. So I'm missing on it. I'm missing on it somehow, and so I got to go back to the drawing board and say why are we not able to do it? Why do we continue to look at plays being made, or a fourth quarter game feels awfully long to us. To play at some semblance of a standard for 60 full minutes, and that I think that I bring that up because I think takeaways are obviously a huge element to that. If you're taking the field, just hoping that enough plays will be made to get you off the field, and ultimately the offense to score enough points, then maybe that mindset contributes to the lack of those plays being made. But no, they win you ball games, they lose you ball games, obviously, and I'm not getting the job done.
Joe Bettner.
Alex, you guys come out and get two really quick stops in the second half. I'm curious, just what changed for you all in the matter of that third quarter when it seemed like Kansas State, as much as their offense kind of sputtered in the first half, they finally found a way to kind of get going.
Yeah, I thought there's a couple plays that just and they're alarming plays because they cost you points, and just absolutely critical errors on our part. One in a cover three concept to turn a running back loose down the boundary is obviously unacceptable, and an angle route out of the backfield that we had seen on film and practice several times to see that turn to an explosive play. We can say we practiced it and all that stuff. It doesn't really matter because we didn't get it executed. So, no, I think it's a four-quarter football game. One of the things we talk about all the time is the only quarter you can win a game is the fourth quarter, but we can talk about it until we're blue in the face. We're not getting it done as coaches.
Barry Trammell.
Yeah, Alex, was conditioning at all a factor? The longer the game went, the more dominant K-State got. They even started driving it on you a little bit. Mm-hmm. They hadn't done that. Is conditioning?
Yeah, I would like to say no. I mean, I think as you evaluate things, I don't think that we played an extensive number of reps. Certainly till maybe the fourth quarter, like you're saying, a couple of those, a couple more drives there. But you're talking about individual plays. I think a lot of it, what a bad play can happen. It shouldn't turn into a scoring play, and so. No, I don't think I would circle that. And obviously I would change my tune if watching the video and we see guys not straining the ball and all those things. But no, I wouldn't circle that.
James Hale.
Alex, you said it. You talked about it a little bit earlier, but there can be no. I would guess as you're watching the game, you see guys running wide open in the secondary. That's the most alarming thing you can see. Is it a particular route that's bothering your defense? Is it similar plays, or what's happening when guys are just running wide open in the secondary?
Yeah, not a consistency that way. There wasn't one individual position or one individual play that was the one that got us. But the first touchdown was one-on-one coverage on a 3rd and 18, which is unacceptable and poor technique, and they make a play and we don't. Like I mentioned, ankle right out of the backfield. Versus a man-free concept. So you really got to have 2 guys on the back bus and post safety. You would suggest that it would be one of the safer calls versus that individual play, but it doesn't matter. We didn't get it done. And then the busted coverage and the cover 3 concept that we kind of match man as opposed to playing our deep third technique. So no, all individual issues and obviously all poorly coached.
Renault.
Alex, since really last year, you guys have struggled to put teams away just across the board. Why do you think that is, and how do you fix that?
Yeah, I think it's obvious, it's glaring, and you emphasize it, you talk about it, you make the guys aware of it, you try to create those situations. Obviously, in practice, you don't. Hope for better results in the future and kind of throw your hands up and say, well, we just didn't get it done. But it's something that we got to continue to evaluate and got to do a better job of. And why does 60 minutes just feel so long to us? Why can we perform at a certain level for stretches? Elite teams and good defenses, which clearly we're not, are able to have a resolve. Don't let one play beat you. Don't let one play turn into 2, and have an energy regardless of what's going on. Can create their own emotion. Can create their own energy. And again, it all comes back down to coaching. And that it is something that you can't ignore. It's a results business. The facts are the facts, and we've talked about that. The film suggests that we are incapable as a coaching staff to get our guys to do it, and so we got to do a better job.
John Hoover.
Yeah, Alex, those 2 plays, the long ones, one goes for 77, and you think, the first reaction is, well, you missed a tackle, it's not going to be a huge deal. But then the second one, busted coverage or whatever, 78 yards. Those obviously swung the game. Did you feel a change right there in your guys' eyes? And did you kind of see maybe the opposite where K-State suddenly got some life to them?
Yeah, I think, the inevitable part is, when the team starts making plays, you can say momentum's not real, but it's very real. And so, what you need to do in those moments, you got to, make sure that you give the kind of the necessary weight to those individual plays and say that they're just that. You don't look at it through any type of other than those 2 events happen. How are we going to respond to it? And there's a pretty good bet as you go back to it. You say what we need to do is we need to be more consistent. We need to do our job, and we simply need to do it again. And oftentimes when, especially on the distances that you mentioned. And again, credit goes where credit is deserved. However, in those particular instances, you say, well, what happened? Well, we had an issue, right? And so, you have to, as best you can, you got to have the mental resolve to put in the appropriate category and say, our issue is us, and the people that ultimately are going to get things fixed, is us. And put the finger back on ourselves as a coaching staff and players. And again, whatever momentum was given away at that point was certainly one that was gift wrapped by our defense.
Brandon Drum.
Yeah, Alex. John asked about the difference after the couple plays. Not having guys like Kenneth Murray, Neville Gallimore, can you sense a difference in your defensive unit not having those guys speak up? Or do you guys have anybody that is able to do that and kind of gather the troops around and say, hey, we got to fix this, but we can't let this snowball on us like this,
sure,
like y'all did last year? I mean, you guys had some times, but you gathered yourselves last year for the most part as well.
Yeah, no, and no, certainly Tampa Bay, both my coaching staff and players. I don't think obviously clearly the leadership was not whether it's not listened to or certainly the message didn't come across, whether from players or coaches on the sideline today. But I certainly wouldn't put that onus on our players from a lack of leadership standpoint. I think part of it too is we got to make sure if we're saying that we're ultimately taking the field and then going to do it. I think a real part and a real so much of it's the symptom of it'll be fine and. Ultimately we'll come up in the win category thing. Somehow, some way it's going to be fine, as opposed to we as defensive coaches and players saying, no, we're going to go make it fine. Again, we're the issue, and really taking ownership in that. And so again, when I look at it and analyze it, you're sitting there saying that this is now a real problem. Right, it's a real problem. There is no, and maybe part of the problem is some of those games that we mentioned, ended up being wins, right? And so maybe we didn't learn the lesson, and we can talk about it and all those things, but and I can bring it up at halftime as many times as I want to, but this one stings, this one will stick, and you'd have to be awfully deaf to not learn from this one.
Hey, just a couple more. Caroline Grace.
Hey, Coach, can you tell me what are some positive things that you're seeing your team maybe master in practice that just didn't transfer to the field today?
Yeah, I wish it was, at this moment of time to find a lot of positives would be really reaching. It's a 4-quarter football game, and we talked about it all week. The only quarter you can win a game is the fourth quarter. Don't make evaluations, and we can say whatever we said, and take some positivity out of the fact, well, I told them type of stuff, and that's not what good coaches do, and obviously our message is not getting across, and so we got to do a better job as a coaching staff. But no, tough to find positives right now, and I certainly think there are probably some guys that have individual good performances, and you can find stretches of time, but no, it's a results business, and we failed.
Last one, Joe Bettner.
Alex, just with some of the mental mistakes, and you said some of those defensive breakdowns were pretty alarming. I mean, how do you fix that within a week's time when you have another physical team and you're going on the road for the first time this season? How do you even approach this next week?
Yeah, I think when you when you watch that play in real time, you say, well, it's fixed. The moment it happened, because that's not all the formations and shifts and motions we got today. Two of the easier things that happen on the day are the things that we messed up, and you say, how can that be? And it's individual guys making sure that they're dialed in. One of the things that we've talked a lot about and need to do a better job of is the consistency element of things. Playing at a certain intensity for a certain amount of time obviously can give you a chance to have some success, but it's the intensity plus consistency that continues to elude us. And so, no, I don't think, you'll watch the film and say, this breakdown is something that we got to design new defenses for in this. What we ultimately got to do is execute. We got to make sure that we're doing a better job as coaches, making sure guys understand, where their help is at times. Would be one instance in terms of a fix to answer your question. And so there's a lot of things to fix over the course of game, and say, why is it that a busted coverage takes place in that moment? Why didn't that happen in the first half when things are going well? Right, and what is that mental aspect of things that we're missing on? Are we giving in when things get hard? And are we losing focus in some of those moments? Are we playing the right guys? Obviously, and most importantly, though, as we attack the film, when I go upstairs right now, is what are we missing as coaches that we're not able to get our message across and ultimately get it executed?